Hey everyone, super excited today. I have the incredible Cary MacArthur with me today. And if I seem a little starstruck, it's because I am. I'm so excited to have you on today, Cary. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good, and I totally feel the same way about you. You're just amazing. And so anyway, we're just like both in awe right now, I guess.
That's really sweet of you. I feel really honored. I've been following Cary. She is the co-host of the Mechanic to Millionaire podcast, which I know some of you watching follow that regularly. Some of you are in my mastermind group, which we set up with the podcast. And so I've been following the podcast for a year now. And I can absolutely say without a shadow of a doubt that it has made the biggest difference in my life this year. Your husband, Dave, and Cary, you both share just your hearts and your story and incredible amounts of wisdom that I think are really needed in this world today. So I am more excited to meet you and to talk to you live than I would be if it was like Oprah or, a Hollywood star, because I literally listen to you every single day. You're part of our lives. And I have a little 3-year-old daughter. She may poke her head in here. She usually does.
Yes.
But she hears your voice and she says, "Oh, I like her." You're just so soothing and have just such a genuine heart that really comes across even just listening to you. And so it's just cute. We'll just cuddle up and kind of listen to you. So you're definitely a part of our lives and a big impact in my personal life. So I'm very excited and honored to have you on today. And so with that, I know that some people are new to, this Mechanic to Millionaire podcast. Just as a little introduction to those who maybe haven't heard of it or know what it's about, what kind of inspired you and Dave to start it? And what is your message? What kind of shift are you trying to make in the world with it?
Well, basically, our lives changed dramatically from when Dave discovered, certain books. He started with The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, and he connected a lot to the principles that were being taught because it really connected to the truths that we had both been brought up. And that clarified, that clarified so much for us, like how to put it into action. And I watched my husband basically change overnight. And I kid you not, he went from really discouraged and not really knowing how to be the person that he knew he was to having this light turn on and just going for it. And it was so amazing to watch. And then we were just being so blessed that he wanted to give back. And he said, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to start a podcast, and I don't know if anybody will listen, but I feel like if I'm doing, if I'm saying the truth, and somebody will find it." And so that started happening. And it was funny for me because I would listen to them too. And it was fun for me to see him progress or to hear him progress as he was able to explain things better. And I started to want to feel a part of it. At first I would kind of critique because I'm such the grammar nerd, right? And then I'm like, no, I'm not going to critique him because what he's saying is powerful. I could feel the power even though I watched it happen. And then I wanted to be a part of it, and I was also so afraid. So the first day he asked me to interview with him, I was so scared. And I'm like, if I don't do it, he's not going to ask me again. And it has totally blessed my life to be a part of it. And anyway, it's been, we sit in the room next door to where I am right now, and we mastermind together. And so it's like some of the greatest moments of our whole lives together in our partnership. And I forget people listen. And then we have people, introduce themselves that listen. And even what you said, it's like, oh my goodness. They're like, oh my word, you're the voice in my head. And I'm like, oh, I hope that's a good thing. So it's fun to hear. And I especially love when we hear about kids that are listening, because we've seen what's happened with our whole family. Our kids, the things that they're doing are incredible. So I'm probably going on way more than you wanted in answer to that question. But basically, it was just a desire to give back and to help people live the life that we're living and to feel the way that we feel and just have that light turn on for you the way it's done for us. So.
Right. And that you talked about how it was scary at first. Isn't that amazing? How few things that scare us. Like for me, doing these live streams terrified me at first. I had the honor of, you read my book, you gave an editorial review on it, which was just so thrilling to me. But I hide a little bit behind my words. And so coming forward and speaking, especially live like this, is one of those really growing experiences. And it's amazing when you challenge yourself and push yourself outside your comfort zone, how much easier it gets and how much more self-confidence you get as you do that. So commend you for sticking with it, because I know my life has definitely been blessed by that. Just for anyone who's watching us live, if you have a question or something you'd really like to hear from Cary, just go ahead and leave a comment. I'm following them right now. So anytime during our chat today, if you want to ask her a question, feel free to do that. So Cary, a little bit what I wanted to ask you about was, I was listening to one of your podcasts just a couple weeks ago, and this one really, really spoke to me, and I think that it's going to speak to a lot of people as well. You were talking about how, as a mother, maybe earlier in your motherhood is what kind of I got the impression of, that you had these hopes and these dreams, but at that time, you felt like you kind of had to put them aside, and you had to do that, to sacrifice as being a mother. And I think that I can definitely relate to that. And I know that a lot of other women out there can as well. Sometimes the circumstances that we have in our lives make us feel like, wow, I can't travel, I can't be this person. And you kind of like have to put those things aside, at least you feel you do. And you were talking about how that made you feel like, it was almost more painful to want those things and not have them. So you kind of turned yourself off from wanting them. So what made that change in you, from going from that place of feeling like, you don't even want to feel those things because it's a little bit too painful, then to allowing yourself to feel them and then ultimately to start manifesting them and experiencing them? What made that shift for you?
Wow, it's a kind of a bundle of things that happened kind of all at the same time. But yeah, I started, motherhood really young. Well, quite young, age 20. I got married when I was 19. And it was honestly when I got married that I put everything away. For some reason, I had a belief, and I didn't even realize I had it, that now I'm an adult, it's time to stop dreaming. And I remember our kids were teenagers, most of them. We had a batch of 4, and then we had a caboose. So I had this baby, and 6 years between, and then I had 6-year-old up to teenagers, and I was watching them kind of drift away from me, the teenagers. I still had the baby, that didn't know anything else than me, but they were just finding greatness in all of these other moms and in all of their friends' moms. And I remember thinking, I have things to offer too, and I almost couldn't remember what they were. And I remember feeling so confused about, why did I have so many hopes and dreams? Why was I so driven and passionate when I don't get to use any of them and I don't get to share them with my kids? And so that was the first question. But it was still several years later, about 5, 6 years later, when David started growing, and he really started, just becoming this incredible person. And we've always been really close in our marriage. And I kind of felt like I was separating a little bit from him because he was growing, and I'd always been very aware of the laws in my mind, but I wasn't really applying them. And so that was part of it. I didn't want him to grow without me. And then my kids, I was just feeling the relationship with my kids just drift apart. And I would tell them, you can be anything you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do. And I did everything I could to support their dreams. And so they were hearing me say one thing, and they were watching me do something else. They were watching me do nothing with my dreams. And so I could tell that was happening. And then finally, the catalyst that started it all was action. And that's like what I'm all about right now. Dave took me, I learned several years later, I thought it was just because he wanted to go to this growth retreat that was in Belize on a private island. And it was the week of our 20th anniversary. And so I thought he just wanted permission to go and wanted, if I take her with me to this island, then she'll let me go. And I was like, you bet, I'm going with you. So he's like, well, you're going to have to participate. He got permission. But I found out just actually a couple months ago that it was actually my wife has forgotten who she is, and I need you to help her find herself. So it was like, yeah, bring her to the retreat. And so it was a gift that was given to me secretly. I've always said it was accidentally, but now I know it was very much on purpose. during that retreat, I thought I could go and play along and stay behind the glass walls that I had built for myself. I didn't realize they were there, but I just, was going to go do business as usual and participate from watching and not really participating, but that wasn't allowed. And I had to do things that pushed me outside of my comfort zone. And honestly, it wasn't pretty. Like I bawled like the snot cry, that really ugly cry. And all they did was ask me to do something. Yeah, that like, whoa, why is everybody watching me right now? They had asked me to do something that I used to love to do, which was to perform on stage. And I'd forgotten all about it. I'd locked it away so deep in my heart, I even forgot. And so I was like, how in the heck did you know that was what I love? And why do you think you have the right to open up my box and, get into my personal stuff? And I lost it. And it was also the most transforming experience that I've had in a really long time. Like as soon as I did it, as soon as I realized there was no way out of it, other than to swim away from the island, and I wasn't that athletically, I'm not that athletic. So I just did it. And honestly, like I say it like it's a metaphor, but it was so literal. Like the world brightened up. I could breathe more deeply. And I just was overcome with this feeling of like, there I am. And so ever since then, I've just pushed myself to do things that scare me, basically. That's kind of I love the way it feels on the other side of being afraid. And so I'm doing it constantly, and I'm doing it quite publicly now, and it's a lot of fun. The thing that I found out, or during the process, I had all three of my girls, I have 3 girls, and all 3 of them have gotten mad at me at one point or another. Why did you say this and not do it? Or why, one of them yelled at me because I had no emotion. Because all my emotions were, I was just really flat, and I could feel things on the inside, I thought, but nobody knew I could feel them. So they didn't know I loved them. They didn't know anything about me. And so it really created a rift. And the greatest blessing, I feel like, for me is the fact that my kids are seeing me. In fact, we were just doing a family text last night, and they're like, wait, Mom, where has this been all our lives? Because I was just playing along with them, and things that I always thought I was doing, or I thought that they didn't want me to participate in their conversations and things because I didn't feel like they cared about who I was, and it was just because I wasn't letting them see who I was, right? So again, that's a long answer, but it really, all of it fits together to really explain what's been happening with me. And I'm so passionate about people allowing themselves to live and parent at the same time, especially moms. It's so essential. It's not just something that you can do. I feel like it's something we must do. So I'm like on a soapbox trying to beg people, come out of your shell, find yourself. So anyway.
Well, that is beautiful. And yeah, that whole transformation process, there are a lot of factors that go into something like that. So
yeah.
A couple of things that you shared really stuck out to me, especially this idea of, there's something I quote from Robin Sharma. He says, when you go to your limits expand. And sometimes you just have to push yourself to be able to experience the freedom, the joy, the vitality that you obviously radiate now. And you're giving people permission to do the same. And I think that's one of, the great contributions that you and your husband do, and the great work that you're doing. So what do you feel like for someone who might be feeling in that place of being a little bit stuck where they're holding themselves back? What would be some maybe practical like exercises or, tools that they could do, some different things that they might be able to do to get out of that place of feeling stuck and limited by themselves? If you have anything that you could kind of share about that might be able to help someone in that situation.
Yeah, I've actually created a whole program around it. I call Finding Your Voice, and I have 5 fundamentals of finding your voice, and the acronym spells voice right. So first is finding value in yourself and rediscovering your core values, because a lot of times we live according to how we think people want us to be. So I had one of my very first mentors named Doug Cloward. He said to me one time, I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. And I understood it when he said it, but the more that I go through this process, I really understand that a lot of us live according to the way we think other people want us to live, and we forget what's important to us. So it's reconnecting to that. And the thing about it is these don't go in order, because that value piece continues to build as you go through. The next thing is being open. So allowing yourself to listen to the podcast, to read the books that we suggest and other books that you find, listening to just going to personal growth retreats. If you find somebody that connects with your core values, go and allow yourself to learn and to be open to experiencing new things, like getting on the stage and acting like Tommy Boy in front of people. It's like, what? And and then the next thing is intention. And the cool thing about intention, we hear a lot of times there's country songs written about the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and that's true. And if you look up the definition of intention in the dictionary, it's basically setting a determination to act upon something. So intention is action. So then we act on those things. And that to me is the very core. So I explain it like you build an archway, and we have the two cornerstones. We have voices, value is the first cornerstone. And then we go all the way around, and I can finish. C is clearing, which I can get into. And expression is E, which is where you're actually living according to who you are. You're being that person. You found your voice, and it's the beginning of the journey. So those are the two cornerstones. Like, we need to know who we are, and we need to be willing to be that. But the keystone, the one that holds it all together at the top, that it wouldn't be an arch. It wouldn't function if we didn't have the intention and the action in the middle. So it's basically discovering those things that I've created a whole worksheet around it with my program, but just to quickly go through it, discovering the things in your life that you absolutely don't want. And I start with that because a lot of people, especially women, can't tell you what they want if they're stuck behind those glass hallways like I was. Yeah, they're like, what do you want? I don't know. I don't remember. So start with what you don't want. Yeah. Because we can get really passionate about things. Yeah. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to, be overweight. I don't want to, all these things. So when we discover that, then we can just write down the opposite, because we feel so strongly about those things we don't want. We probably feel equally as strong in a positive way about the things we do want. So doing that, and then just really writing a list of all those things, as many as you can, and choosing one to start with, and then thinking, so why don't I have this? If I want it that badly, why don't I have it? And then you start to come up with all the excuses. I want to, but I can't because, and we start to realize all the fears we have. And fear, I used to think of fear as, fear of somebody attacking me or spiders or something outside of me. But fear is a lot from the inside. And so we don't even define those as fears. That's Carter. Anyway, for me, resistance and fear are the same thing. So once I discover what the fears are, then it's just asking myself, do I want it badly enough that I'm going to face this fear? And then just committing, making a promise to, that's what I do. I promise myself, I'm going to, right now, my whole thing is wear lipstick at least an hour a day, every day, because it's allowing me to be seen, which I didn't used to want to be. So for me, it's huge, and it seems so little. And it's just that commitment of telling myself I'm going to do it. And I promise you, your world will change when you start committing to do something that scares you every single day. So that's basically it. And then the clearing comes just naturally, clearing out the false beliefs and replacing it with the new beliefs. And then expression also happens naturally. And that's when life is just really amazing. I thought my life was amazing before. And now I'm like, I had no idea that, what existed. And I'm excited to find out what continues to exist as I continue to explore, who I am. So.
Right. It's right there. It's right in front of all of us. It's just making a shift in our mindset to allow us to receive it. Really quick, I have a question from Jessica for you. She says, when you are striving for change and growth, but it perhaps comes a little slower to you than when it seems to be coming, then it seems to come to others. So it's coming slower to you than it seems to come to others. How do you best keep a focused perspective instead of being discouraged by slow growth? That's her question. So I don't know if you can speak to it.
Question. That's a really good question. A lot of it has to do with realizing that there are things behind the surface of everybody that we don't understand. So maybe the growth that we see in somebody, it might be something that we are wanting that maybe isn't as hard for that. And so it's all just a journey. We also don't know how long that person has been traveling. How long have they been pushing to work through things? And so it's also in finding the gratitude in your own journey and celebrating the little things, celebrating the fact that I can wear lipstick now. like seriously 2 weeks ago. It was painful. Yeah, when I went to, anyway, I could tell you the story, but I won't. It's just those little wins when you look back and you write. I have a gratitude journal that I write in every single morning, and it's just simple. I just write my favorite moment from the last 24 hours was. And it's been so powerful for me because it allows me to look back on my life and go, oh my goodness, I had the best day yesterday. And I start my day in that same attitude. It allows me to get out of comparison. So I just like to step back and look at things at a bigger picture. I just know that, you know, if I hadn't read your book, I would have no idea the things that you struggled with. And I would look at you as like, wow, she's incredible. Like, she just is so natural at everything she does. Why is she so talented? Da 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 da. And not having any understanding of the struggle that you went through. So stepping back and realizing that everybody has something, and that I probably have something that that person wishes that, you know, they had. That's basically, I don't know if that answers the question, but that's how I do it.
Yeah, so I think that really speaks a lot of truth. Just to, you know, own the space that you're in and know that it's okay. Everyone's going to do it in their own way, and that's what makes it beautiful and unique, and that will make your contribution, your story, what it is, and other people will be inspired by that. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that.
A rainbow, every stripe of the rainbow was red, it wouldn't be as amazing or beautiful as it is. And just remembering, yeah, we all are different. We're all our own little puzzle piece, and the whole, the tapestry is gorgeous. So remembering you're a piece of that gorgeousness, no matter what. So
awesome. Well, we're rounding up our time here. I want to be respectful of your time. I could go on forever. I would love to talk with you more. And I'm sure others are really enjoying this as well. So I want to thank you for your time. And is there just any last thoughts that you want to share before we end this here today?
You know what? Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I seriously, I love to talk about my journey. You can tell I get really long-winded and really excited about it. And I just invite anybody to join me. Seriously, you can follow me on Facebook and you can watch my journey and join it. Like, start tagging yourself and just commit to doing something that scares you, whether it's, you know, I don't know, putting your hair up or wearing lipstick or whatever it is. Just commit to do it and journal the progress, and you'll be amazed. I can't say that enough. It sounds so simple, but it's so huge. So huge.
It absolutely is. Yeah, I've recently done some of those things that terrify me, and come out on the other side realizing it wasn't as bad as I thought. Most of it was in my head. And look at the place I'm in now. It's so much better. So then you get hungry to take on the things that scare you. And your life just gets this beautiful momentum. And you kind of feel unstoppable. It's a great place to be. So yeah, I invite everyone to go ahead and follow Cary. And I will put a link below to the Mechanic to Millionaire Facebook page and the podcast. So you can join in. I really encourage people to do that. They do 2 podcasts every single week. Huge value, completely free. These guys are incredible. They're really making big shifts in the world and in the lives of real people like me. I'm one of them. After I went through what I went through, fighting breast cancer while I was pregnant, I came across some of these principles out of necessity, but now I use them to move my life forward intentionally. That was kind of a do or die situation, literally. And so I had to learn how to use visualization to achieve the outcome that I wanted. I had to choose faith over fear. And those are principles that I had to cling to get through that. But now I'm using them to move my life forward. And Cary has been the example of that to me, a shining light. So thank you so much, Cary. If you're new to me, I invite you to follow me as well, as I like to share messages that uplift, inspire, and entertain people. So I want to thank you so much, Cary, and you guys have a fabulous, fabulous day. Remember, you are the creators of your own lives. Thank you so much, Cary.
Thank you. See you later.